Y'all want me to sing while this dead air is on?
No. Mm-mm.
Do what?
Hey, everybody. Thank you guys so much for joining us here tonight on CAG Chat. I am joined by my guest, Levon Reedy Thomas, by Derek Holmesley, and Tanya Wingfield. And I am yours truly, Sherman Hardy. And Donna will be joining us at some point. Um, we're going to jump right into it. Tonight, we're going to be talking with school board members who are vying to, I'm not sure which board race it is, but they're looking to be the next Board of Education members. And we also have a couple of the at-large candidates tonight that we'll be having a conversation with. And then the group will also fill you in on some of the latest happenings in Prince George's County government. So stay tuned and hope you enjoy. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, comment, share, and all those other good things. Go ahead, Levon, take it over for open mic.
All right, so it's been a
Oh,
minute.
Sherman, real quick. Did you send the link to Miss CJ Jackson? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. She's on the phone saying she didn't get the link. What did he say?
We're live.
I understand that.
Go ahead, Levon, take it over.
Okay, we're sending it now.
Hey, everybody. I hope you have been enjoying the last few
Sorry.
days of this amazing weather. I mean, come on, y'all. Winter, I think, has left the room. Summer is maybe going to ease its way in, and we're going to get a little bit of spring. So if you have not been out and about in these streets, I just encourage you to go and spend a few nickels here and there, sit out on a bench, read a book, just enjoy, because life is lifing for a lot of folks, right? Okay, now that I've gotten over our wonderful opening, um, a
Thank
few
you.
a few housekeeping notes. It is election season. Many people have started receiving the correct mail-in ballots. I've not gotten any from my house yet, but at my house, but hopefully, they'll come and we drop them in the box. We won't mail them back because we kind of want to make sure they get counted, but we also will probably stand in line and vote. Um, Early voting starts June 11th through the 18th. Actual election day is June 23rd. During early voting, there are limited polling places. Those will be coming in your ballot, I guess, soon, and it'll list where. Um, and then on June 23rd, you have the massive number of polls across the county. Um, as far as election stuff goes, there's a new app. Uh, Shoot, I didn't even think about it, but it has been floating around, and somebody said they used it and they found it very helpful. I'm going to find it because I've looked it up before. Okay, here it is. It is called mypgvoterguide.com. It's mypgvoterguide.com. And I came across it on Instagram. Young woman said she pulled it together, and you go in according to our good friend and ally Barbara Morris. She said she went in and you give it some information about yourself and I guess what is of concern to you. Barbara said accountability, corruption was not one of the concerns, but she found it to be really good and quite comparable. It's like it matches you with candidates based on what you tell it. And so she said she found it pretty comparable to the decisions that she already made. And so many people have been saying that there are too many candidates. They don't know where to find information about candidates. And so they are frustrated. They see all the signs, but they can't put their fingers on where the candidate information is. You can follow candidates. You go to Maryland legislative site and you ask for the candidates for Prince George's County, and it'll list everything. You can go there to find out where your voting, what your districts are for council, for state legislative and for school board, because they are not all in the same, and you'll know who to vote. And every year we talk about, every election year, we talk about these ballots that are sent out. They are not ballots, they are slates. A ballot gives all of the candidates who are running in an election. And there's only one official ballot, and that comes from the Democratic Party or through the Board of Elections. And we've had these conversations for as long as I can remember about making these things illegal, because what they do is they only list the people that they're supporting. And the sad part is it comes from the senators, the
Right.
so-called leaders, if you will, uh of the county, of the districts, right? And they are intentionally manipulating you all because they are not giving full information about candidates. It's fine if they want to darken in the bubble for the candidates that they like, right? But to make people think that there's only one or two people running in a seat, that's just deception. And we have got to figure out how to stop these things from happening. I think that the Board of Elections could do a better job mailing out information. The filing deadline was February 24th. Why don't they go ahead and just do a postcard that says find all of your candidate information at www.suchandsuch.gov or .maryland, md. whatever it is. That way people will know in time enough, oh, there's an election coming. Oh, here's how I can monitor information about candidates. I get the official information, and then I can start whittling down to people who are of interest to me. Like there are ways that we can do this. They could send it out by districts. They could say, District 24, state legislative district, here are your candidates. Here are your candidates in the council. Like, these people are getting paid to do nothing but count votes at the end of the day. They do nothing in between elections as far as I can see. The grievances that are filed are ignored or denied. So we have to do better in between elections on some issues. We've talked about recall. We've talked about these slates that they are called ballots. We've talked about the signs. They did a bill this week. Sherman was at the council this week, and I don't know if it passed. I didn't hear anything on it, but hey, I'm thankful they introduced legislation to address the signs that are in the roadways. I have never seen so many violations, and the state and the county are ignoring them. They're not, they're not picking up the signs in the medians. And then on top of that, I didn't know this was my monologue, but I'll take it. But on top of that, it's established, experienced politicians who are breaking the law, putting their signs in medians and along exit ramps and on ramps. Come on, y'all. The county looks bad enough. We got to do better with these signs. Excuse me. My suggestion for the signs going forward, because somebody told me I should be more vocal about solutions. I don't get paid for solutions. I get paid for identifying problems. Well, I don't get paid. I'm volunteering to bring exposure to
You are
problems.
exercising a constitutional right to redress your government.
Yes, and if they want to take my concerns and do something about it, that's what they get paid to do. But I'm going to add another caveat of a suggestion for elections. Instead of candidates putting out signs, Board of Elections should put out a sign in various locations that says election coming, such and such a date. For more information, here's the website, here's the QR code. You go to the QR code and it takes you to a space where you put in where you live, and it populates the candidates who have registered for your areas. That way, the signs go up at an appropriate time because they also violated the 45-day rule, which is 45 days before election. You can put your signs out. They violated that. And then they know when to take down the signs. That will also decrease the unnecessary waste of money that candidates have to do to put the signs up. People take down the signs, they vandalize the signs, they tear up, they tear up the signs, and then they can focus on other ways to campaign. So it's a win-win for everybody. So y'all can have that one. Maybe we'll put that in our CAG Live whenever we get to do a CAG Live in person. We can make that one of our talking topics for the public to join in. Any thoughts about the election in general as we wait for our guests?
I would just tell everybody, y'all need to remember the history of those idiot ballots, is what I call them.
Mm-hmm.
And it was to make sure that the establishment got their people in. And this is what gets to me about the folks who keep saying we're fighting to be free now that we have Black leadership. You use the same tactics that were used against you to oppress you when you weren't in leadership in Prince George's County. I mean, that's
Mm-hmm.
just stupid. But I would just, encourage, leave those idiot ballots alone and get your official ballot that comes out from the Board of Elections. Um, Look up the candidates. Don't just, definitely don't believe their lying lips. I'm telling you. And all the little party ads and everything that they have. Just look at their records so that we can stop voting in people that are just self-serving, because that's all we have in leadership right now, self-serving individuals. It's
Right.
not sustainable.
Not at all. Derek, did you have anything to comment?
No, well, just, I think this is a crucial um, voting season for our county, and it's time to maybe give some experienced new faces a chance because what what we have is really putting us in a bad position, and we the people, if we don't stand up, then it's not going to change. So we got to come out and vote, you guys, and vote away from the faces, the familiar faces.
Well, let's call them incumbents. We don't want the incumbents because they have contributed to the problem. They are complicit. They don't speak out. Sidney Harrison was doing a community shred the other day. He said nothing about the $39 million vote, the budget that they took money from park and planning. He wasn't at the meeting. He never gave offered a reason why he was not at the meeting, why he left the county building. But he wants to do community shred events. I got something to shred. Shred his mailers, shred his signs, shred anything that asks you. Well, he hasn't really asked us for a vote. He just said re-elect Sidney Harrison. And y'all know who I am as he endorsed somebody else. We don't want that. We don't need a follower. It's not good enough for me that he can regurgitate the facts. And somebody told me, a little birdie told me that he was at the I don't know if I can say exactly where he was, but he was at a community location and he never even mentioned the full responsibilities of the council. He only talked about land use. And so my thing is, I don't care. We need everybody new. We can't get rid of the troubled people. So let's make sure we vote enough people so they don't get a block again. No incumbents on the county council. No, no, no. And pay attention to who's being endorsed. Because even though Tom Denoga is leaving his seat, one of his staff people is running. Michelle Garcia is her name. So she's there to carry the Denoga legacy and listen to him and Mary Lehman and the things that they want to do to continue ruling District 1, which is the Laurel Beltsville area. And so if you want to see an example of politics in play, Conterra, which is in the north end of the county in Laurel, where they built the ICC, the connection from North County to Montgomery County, so that those people up there have easier access, where they're also putting the purple line, with those people up there have easier access, right? They finally are building Conterra. That's been on the planning table for 20 years. They broke ground on the commercial part. They're already building townhomes, but yet Tom DeNoga doesn't want development coming south of the Beltway. He's down here telling us what we should be doing.
He's been our de facto council person.
Right. So it makes you wonder how they were able to get all these moving parts. And Westphalia has been in the pit for the past, 10 years? Well, it was longer than that, but once we finally got it off the ground, it's been struggling. Yeah, we know Walton had, the builder, developer had problems, but just like South Lake in Bowie, they annexed the city of Bowie to come across Central Avenue. And they got South Lake, and South Lake was building houses while they were building the commercial part. The same thing with the community at 301 by, I see our guest is here, by Walmart. They're building their commercial part while building the houses. So y'all got to pay attention. Thank you for joining us for Open Mic. We'll move on to our conversation with school board member. Go ahead, Tanya.
Okay. Well, you always take this part, but anyway.
I'm sorry, school board candidate.
Yes. CJ, you are on. Oh, there you go. You're off mute. Okay. Is it okay to call you CJ? Because I saw I still can't hear you. Oh, okay, we can hear you now. Great.
Hear me? Okay. Absolutely. It's okay to call me CJ. I go by Chandria Jackson Saunders. I pretty much answer to everything. So CJ is fine.
Oh, so you sound like me. That's what I did. My mom would call us all sorts of names.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, well, you got 8 kids. Okay. Well, CJ, thank you so much for joining us. And I know you have a hard stop, so we're not going to belabor this. So what I'm going to do is just go ahead and open up the floor, let you go ahead and introduce yourself. I know that currently you are sitting in the District 9 school board seat, and you are running for election. So let me go ahead and open it up, and then the questions that we've already sent, just go ahead and you could just jump right into them.
Thank you. Well, first, I definitely want to formally introduce myself. I am Chandria CJ Jackson Saunders, and yes, I am presently the school board representative for District 9. That was by appointment. As you know, this seat was vacated in late January, and I was appointed in late February and have been serving in that seat in that capacity ever since. And so obviously I will complete this term, which ends in December of 2026. And of course, I'm a candidate on the primary ballot so that I can preserve one or two slots in order to be on the ballot in November. What do I think I bring to this board seat? I wouldn't be running if I didn't think that I had something valuable to offer. First of all, I'm a retired educator, 35 years as a school psychologist in the public school system. And as a school psychologist, I have served elementary, middle school, high school, special programs, but more importantly, I have served in every lens and every dynamic. And so I know what it is to be and work with parents. I know what it is to work collaboratively with administrators, as well as with the community, stakeholders, our engaging stakeholders, and of course, our scholars. Obviously, my lane is special education. As a school psychologist practicing for for more than 35 years. I'm able to look at academic intervention and prevention. So all of those are my hands-on experience. But to this seat, I also bring governance and policy. I served 2 complete terms, which is 2 4-year terms as a board member under the Archdiocese of Washington, obviously in Washington, D.C., and I was also appointed to the Childhood Advocacy and Protection Board, which means I was responsible for ensuring that those scholars' needs, mentally, behaviorally, as well as physically, were met, and the job was to ensure their safety and their priority. And so I believe that lens of my practitioner ability, as well as my governance and oversight, makes me the perfect candidate for this position. And I have to throw this in because I'm really proud of this. I am the 2020 National School Psychologist of the Year, the first African American to receive such distinction from that organization over its period of 40 years in service. And so I'm extremely proud about that because my focus was urban school psychology, and I believe in mental health and mental well-being, and that's what I champion.
Awesome. Okay. So, first question that we're going to ask you is, I am so sorry. I'm sorry, I got to look up. Yeah, I can't hardly see. First, let's talk about qualifications and accountability. So you've already talked about your qualifications, but when it comes to accountability, because we know that that's short on this current board, not talking about you, but what will you do to hold yourself accountable to parents, to teachers, to educators, taxpayers, and also holding your colleagues accountable?
I think the most important issue is being transparent. It's being forthcoming. It is telling the truth and being present. And so I have committed myself to being present in the community, present with organizations, present in schools. As a matter of fact, when I began holding this seat, the first thing I did was became committed to visiting every single school in my district. And I have been to all 22 schools, met with the principals, and when able to, I met with the teachers, did walkthroughs. And so really keeping my pulse and my feet on the ground in these school buildings to see what is indeed really going on. I also keep an open line of communication with the constituents. And so I'm an advocate for hotlines, so that if you see something, you say something, you report what it is, anonymously or not, and it is up to me within 48 hours to be able to respond to that issue and elevate that issue. Let me tell you what I've been doing since I've been in the seat. When someone calls with an issue, I let them know the process. I'm going to elevate this issue because, as you know, the board member's role is not to go into schools and micromanage. I don't tell a principal what to do. I don't tell a teacher what to do. I don't make somebody change their rules. That's not my job. My job is to hold the superintendent accountable, making sure he has put in place those parameters that we need in order to successfully educate our scholars. And so what I do, we have a process called a board tracker. If it's an issue that needs to be advanced, and that's after a communication and some dialogue with the person who's bringing me the concern, I get their permission to enter that information into a tracker, and then I let them know what it is that I'm writing in the tracker, and we give ourselves a deadline in order to be able to circle back with each other to ensure that we've gotten a response to that measure. For instance, something as simple as construction debris at the new Brandywine facility on Dyson Road. The construction workers, some kind of way, and I'm not saying intentionally, but they were tossing their metal widgets into the yards of the constituents. Well, that's a problem, right? Because every time they went out to mow their lawn, they got a disrepaired lawnmower because they were running over widgets. Well, that seems like a simple problem that's not related to schools, but it is, because that community member is my constituent. That's my stakeholder. That's the person I'm counting on to support public schools. So I got to make sure that they're fairly treated as well, whether they have a kid in public schools or not. And so there are ways that we can advocate for everyone, and that's what I intend to do, and hold myself accountable for doing so.
Okay, thank you. And CJ, I need to apologize because I forgot to let you know 2 minutes for a response. That's my fault.
Yeah, you gotta tell me. I'm sorry. I get so passionate about this. I'm sorry.
No. Okay, and LaVonda's got to pick up.
I'm gonna pick up, so you watch the clock, Tanya.
Yeah.
When she needs to wind up, give us a thumbs up.
Okay.
Okay. So next, so you said a few things already that I know I have a piggyback question on, but I'm gonna stick with the script for right now, and then if we have time, I'll ask that. So
Okay.
budget and priorities. PGCPS operates on a multi-billion dollar annual budget, and the board plays a central role in approving and overseeing the school system's priorities. What specific spending areas would you protect, reduce, or reform, and why?
So a couple things that I know rise to the top for me. Obviously, I want to make sure that the blueprint dollars as well as its expenditures are monitored and spent appropriately. Now, what I also know that the blueprint dollars are not enough to educate our scholars. And so we're already starting out at a back end. That means that those schools that don't have the numbers, because this is based on SBB, it's based on the student count in a building. If you got a small school, you're not going to get the resources that you need. So I want to make sure that those schools get what they need, because those are sometimes our highest need schools. I need to make sure that those schools get what they need in order to educate scholars. Special education is huge for me. And as you know, we're in corrective action right now. We've done a lot to get there, but we've got a lot more work to do. I love specialty programs, IB, AVID, the immersion programs. We don't have enough money right now to fund them all based on the return of investment. And again, based on the data that's been presented. So what I want to do is make sure that those programs that we are funding are working, and not wait until the end of the year to figure out, well, we only have 3 or 10 kids in this program that we've spent millions of dollars on, yet a school that's small hasn't gotten the money that they need. So I'm adamant about watching the quality point so that we know how we're serving the students we have with the small amount of dollars that have been allocated.
Great. And we know that there's some issues already with that budget. So, okay. Excuse me. Board oversight versus interference. What do you believe is the proper balance between holding the superintendent accountable and avoiding inappropriate involvement in day-to-day school system operations?
Great question. And once again, because I've been in a school 35 years, I know what it looks like to be inside of that building and have to manage it. So I respect the process. I respect what the principals, the teachers, the building engineer, the secretaries, the administrative support team must do in the role that they play. I know that my job is to hold the superintendent accountable for what is going on within school buildings and within those school communities. And so I understand, even when a constituent comes to me, that's the first thing we talk about. You know, if it's a problem that needs to be solved at the local school level, first, I'm going to say, tell me what you've done in order to communicate at the local school. I want to know what you've done. And that way we can start from there. But I'm not going to let you jump a hurdle before you've had an opportunity to let someone try to work the problem out. As a psychologist, we're problem solvers. And so we don't stand around talking about problems all day long. I mean, I need to know what they are, but I want to have a proactive approach to resolving them. Now, once that constituent has told me that I've tried to reach out to the principal, it's been 30 days before they responded to me, whatever, then I then run interference. But what I'm always going to do is check back to ensure that respondent, that constituent, that parent, that community member, whatever it is, has had some level of engagement. Communication, I have determined in my short period of time on this board, is our weakest link. We are not communicating effectively enough with our constituents, and that's what I want to improve. And I've said that directly to the superintendent. I know, is the thumb up? Because I can't see it.
Oh, no, you got time. You got time.
I want to talk about, there are a couple of hotbed issues that we're having. Some of our charters are talking about closing schools, and just a lot of chatter. And my thing is, we have to be on the front end of working with our parents and having those, what I call, courageous conversations about what the real issues are, what are the barriers, and how are we best able to resolve them. I tried to wrap that up.
Okay. So I don't know what your hard stop is, but when is our next person due to come on?
I have not heard from her yet.
Okay. All right. So you've said a whole lot of stuff. You mentioned urban psychology. You mentioned the dynamics between constituents, principals, and the superintendent. Um, you mentioned special education, all very important. So the way I will ask this question is, how will you, as a school board member, and how are you doing it now? You know, politicians stay in the pocket, in the buildings, in the emails, in all the things related to PGCPS. Now, most of them will not run on it from a serious platform issue, but they love to be a boss and be meddling in PGCPS. And from the urban psychology space, I want you to answer what about the bullying that happens with students that gets covered up, that the elected people will not say anything about? The police don't seem to be able to come in and take a report from a parent against a student, and the schoolhouse isn't addressing it. So can you kind of talk about how your urban psychology background might help with some improvement in policies and politics?
Absolutely. And I so appreciate that question because just again, in my short period, I've had 3 bullying issues that I've had to deal with parents. And what I get mostly is that the schools, and this is their report, the schools won't follow the process. There is not only policy, but there is a procedure that we have to follow. We, meaning Prince George's County Public Schools, must follow when there is a report of bullying. Now, the first issue is education, to know how we actually define bullying, to make sure that it meets the standard, the definition, right? And so it has to meet 3 particular criteria in order to be classified as bullying. But once we get over that, you must file a written report when there is the evidence of bullying, and it must be investigated. So here's what I know that I understand is not happening. There is not a will for participation in some of our schools to actually define and claim that there is bullying going on. So a parent is going to call it bullying, but an administrator or a teacher may not. Well, those definitions are standard. They're not left up to what you think, what I think, what they think. There are 3 principles that we must follow in order to determine if a bullying experience exists. So if it is indeed bullying, there is a process. You have to follow it. And when you don't, you are in violation not only of board policy, but also of the rules for that student engagement. And that's their civil right. We can't do that, right? And then if it is bullying, then again, there's some more procedures after that. And so there are procedures on the policy side, and then there are procedures on the educational side. I want to talk about the educational side because to me, that's the critical piece. A parent shouldn't have to remove a kid because they're concerned about their safety. No, a parent ought to be able to help work with that process, make sure that that student is okay. If there's a need for restorative work, if there's a need for discipline, whatever must happen that is guided by policy, that is what must take place. So I'm not into covering up because I also know the psychological impact that it has when a student believes that they have not been treated fairly, I'm looking at your finger, have not been treated fairly or equitable, and then they start to have all those other things we talk about. Student absence, don't want to go to school, don't want to interact, poor grades. We start some of these issues and we can control them if we just follow the policy and the law.
All right.
Thank you, Ms. CJ.
I agree with that. I know I know you have a meeting. It's 6:37. Do you have time for one more question or do you need to go?
I'll make time.
Okay. I have a question about special education because that's one of the biggest unfunded mandates in education. It is almost impossible to fund a child's least restrictive environment. I know we're always saying give them an IEP, give them a 504, but we forget about least restrictive environment. So as a board member, it 'cause I know we're in corrective action, but policies are in place, laws are in place. I think it's more of my opinion, again, it's well, I'm not gonna say, yeah, lack of funding and a lack of parental support outside of the school. That's not always happening. So, as a board member, how would you bring together the outside resources, or not really bring it together, but make sure the superintendent brings together those outside resources to help shore up in those areas?
Let me tell you the first thing, and I am adamant about this because this has been my career. I have been an expert witness for public schools because I believe that when a child with a disability or in need of a 504 accommodation plan, they are entitled to FAPE, a free and appropriate public education within their school environment. I don't, we have to preserve some of our money is going to these outside non-public placements. And there is a need for that, but we should have jumped through every single loop and hoop we can before we start sending a student outside of their normal community environment in order to educate them. So the first thing is to provide what a student needs at the local school level. So right now, and we have a high population of autistic students who are being diagnosed. It's not that they're new to autism, it's simply that they're just being diagnosed, right? Diagnosis of autism should occur before the age of 3. But we're finding a lot of these scholars, 4th grade, 5th grade, are just now being diagnosed with autism. So that ought not to be a phenomenon to us anymore. We ought to be planning for that population and making sure that we're able to educate them in their least restrictive environment, because every kid with an autism diagnosis, as you have said, does not require an IEP. They simply require accommodations that can be met at the local school level. And so when they need that dedicated aid, and again, that's a big one, the dedicated aid, when they need someone in order to help them facilitate that least restrictive environment, we've got to be able to provide them with that. Now, that dedicated aid is a huge issue, Tanya, because we're not paying dedicated aids enough. They're not contract people. They don't have plans and benefits to offer. And so we've got to do some work in that area to make sure that we have the students that we need. The one thing that I have seen, former interim superintendent, and now we know that he's in the process to become, he is the nominee, let me put it that way, to become our superintendent. I have had discussions with him about how we need to ensure that our students have the personnel that they need in order to do the job. Special education teachers, we are short on them. We've got to go find them and bring them into our facility. And so we've got now that new collaboration with Bowie State. There are a lot of things that we can do in order to ensure that personnel first is in our building. And that's really what we're lacking, personnel.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Yes.
Eric has his hand up.
Sherman has his up too, but
I can't see Sherman.
Miss CJ, I am DJ. How are you?
Well, sir, how are you?
Yes, ma'am. I hear you speak of your psychology background, and being a part of the school system as many years as you have. And I have an autistic nephew who attends PG County School. My question is, from a psychological standpoint, the transportation department is in disarray, and they cannot get students, special needs or regular ed, to school on time. And that plays a big part of a child's psychological preparation for each day's class, or attendance to school, especially special needs and autistic children, because they get used to a pattern. And if they're bumped off of that pattern, then they can have a meltdown or a bad day. So what can you speak on how you will push for better efficiency and production of the transportation department because they are not doing well right now?
Mr. DJ, again, thank you for that question. Let me tell you what I'm already doing. This past Thursday, I had a town hall. Now, my town halls are advertised as town hall webinars, and they're for everybody. I represent District 9, yes, but I'm responsible for 130,000 kids and their families across this county. So when you have a problem in District 8, District 7, District 6, and you find me and you want to talk about it, I'm advocating for that as well. I had a town hall on transportation because I knew it was an issue. The week before, I had a town hall on special education, public family engagement, because all of those are issues. So I've had that, and then I have gotten them to commit to meeting with my town hall constituents quarterly, beginning next school year, so that parents know they can at least count on, a face-to-face with the chief and their department. In that town hall last week, however, we had some what I call courageous conversations about what is and is not happening with transportation. And one of the things that listen, when I first got on, I went to transportation. I went to Tanglewood. I went to Melwood. I went to all that. I have been boots on the ground because I want to see for myself what is going on. And they admitted, and they were transparent even in this past town hall, that the transition between what they were doing, School Finder, and what they're doing now through Chipmunk and all of that was rushed. It was rushed. Mm-hmm. They were losing a contractor, and they had to find another contractor all in about a 2-month period of time and open school. It was at the beginning of the school year. So they rushed to get on board with the contractor because they needed something. But because they had to rush and get it done, they had not received the proper training on all the bells and whistles of the system. And so when you talk about that app, and believe me, I hear about that app every single day. Not the bus is not showing up, it not being where it's supposed to be. When there's a substitute driver, he don't know the route, he don't know where to come down. It is huge, and they have admitted that they have not refined their use of Chipmunk, which is the app, on this new system. Here's my thing. Well, did you tell the parents that you just don't know? Did you tell the parents that you're still trying to?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we lost her.
Oh, we lost you.
I hear. Am I back?
Okay, we hear you now.
Yeah, you got to tell them the truth, and the system cut you off.
It's cut off again.
See, it won't allow you to tell the truth.
Because those.
Now
we
can
hear you.
I'm sorry. I pulled over to the side of the road. I have not moved my location. I don't know what's going on. But I say to them, listen, parents can beat you up for getting something wrong. But if you don't lie to them, if you tell them the truth, they can't beat you up for not telling them the truth.
Right.
Well,
all of this right now.
Okay.
Well, Ms. CJ, I just want to say this before you leave. You sound sensible about the subject, and anytime you like to pick my brain, I have a lot of information. And the chipmunk is just the beginning of you guys' problem, okay? That's a very important problem, but it's a whole lot of stuff that need to be in line with chipmunk for it to gel. And being this late in this school year, trying to get prepared for next school year, you're already way behind the 8 ball.
Without a doubt. I hope you can hear this, without a doubt. And guess what? They know it. And it's so many different aspects of it. They want to investigate families being able to opt out of transportation. Do you know they have routes developed, and there are no children to pick up on those routes just because they have them enrolled? But if a parent knows that they're not going to be using a school bus, just opt out.
Oh, see, you went out again.
Oh gosh, I got so much information. I'm sorry.
See, that ain't nothing but the devil.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but the funny part is that director of transportation got an award, right, at the beginning of the school year.
Well, not only that, remember now, he just got named superintendent because of all these things he fixed.
Well, I was getting ready to say that, but no, I mean, how can you be the best qualified?
But we don't want to hold CJ up because I know she has a dead stop, and we appreciate you so much.
Thank you so much.
for for us holding you over, and let everybody know how to get in touch with you for your campaign.
Hope you can hear me. I'm at cjsaunders.org. That's the website, cjsaunders.org. And listen, call me on my cell phone number anytime. I give everybody my personal cell, 202-491-8421. Call that. Now, they gave me a PGCPS phone, but I really don't, I shouldn't say that. But call me on my cell phone because that's going to get to me. 202-491-8421 is my personal cell. My email address is cj.jacksonsaunders. Oh, it's a lot now, I know, at pgcps.org. But if you go to the website, you can get all of my information. And please, I encourage anyone, reach out. You don't have to be District 9. If there's an issue with schools that I can help with, I'm going to absolutely advocate for it.
Okay. Well, CJ, thank you so much for joining us this evening. All the best in your election.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Okay.
Right.
And
well,
as an
everyone.
election, your campaign. Thank you.
And Tanya, let's remind everybody that the school board race is the only one that has a runoff. And we are really, another issue we need to look at is having runoffs for all of these seats, right? And so they have to, the top 2 vote getters in the primary will run again through the general, and then you get to pick one of the 2 final candidates. So we need to do that for all these positions.
Yeah, remember, you have 2 picks. Okay, that was great.
Yeah, it was good.
You know, it's so funny because remember that little bullet list? This is why he was selected. And we know, come on, we know this stuff ain't happening.
Fakeroo, hoodwink, bamboozled, lied to, manipulated. They fixed, the fix was in. And once again, the county executive has shown the people that she's going to do what she wants
to do. Exactly.
She doesn't care. We have to have a Department of Environment director who was fired because he mishandled money from stormwater management. He appealed it and he lost in court. We got a chief of staff who had his own issues as the chief of police in Seat Pleasant that was captured on video. Who's acting as her henchman. He goes in.
And remember now, don't forget, he resigned from the school board when it was discovered he was double dipping on 2 jobs.
Who?
You forgot about that?
No, I'm not talking about the CAO for the council. I'm talking about the deputy chief of staff for Aisha Brave Board.
Yeah, that's who I'm talking about.
No, he wasn't on the school board.
Yes, he was.
Devin Martin wasn't on the school board.
Yes, he.
No, he was. He was on the school
not
board.
The board.
He was working for
the board
Walla.
office. He worked for the board.
Okay.
No, he worked for the board office.
Oh, okay. I was trying not to bring up nobody's names, but
he worked for the board office because remember he resigned when it was being investigated that he was the chief of police for Seat Pleasant, and he was also working for the 2021.
Right. And then who else we got? We got oh shoot, I lost my train of thought. I had a few people because I listed them on Facebook. But anyway, we got the snow issue where she said she would do it all again, even though y'all raised hell about what she was doing. She said it didn't matter.
Yeah.
She does what she wants to do.
It was a small part of our budget.
Right. She's letting the council raid, in the words of Governor Westmore. I will always be quoting him. They have raided the Maryland Park and Planning budget, and we're going to put a stop to that. And she was among them, but he endorsed her. He didn't chastise her. He didn't endorse the culprits, the incumbents. He endorsed Jolene and Sydney because they didn't support all of that, right? And so my thing is, don't punish one kid, punish all the kids, right? So my thing is, she did the same thing. she got money for her staff. So she ain't no better and she ain't no different. And I got
Well,
one more example. Oh, and then she brought back the Johnson regime. You
mm-hmm.
know, she done planted them all through county government,
You
and
know
as
what?
though they were upstanding civil servants. No, no.
Her theme song should be "God of a Second Chance," I guess, because she's just giving everybody a second chance.
She would be a goddess of a second chance.
She giving everybody a second chance. Everybody, you need a second chance? Come on over here. I'll give you a second chance.
Well, she gives some people second chances, not everybody.
Well, everyone in her camp.
Right, everybody
Either
that she
either you
deems.
get a second chance, or you just get a job you're not qualified for. Take your
Oh
pick.
yeah.
Take your
And
pick.
on that, can we talk about the Howard University alumni forum they had online last night?
This that's that
And
ooh,
Devin
that was very
Martin,
sloppy. That was very
oh,
sloppy.
it was. And Devin Martin actually said, first of all, he was her surrogate, which I don't think you should have a surrogate. You should speak for yourself or go void. You can send a message of apology for not being there, which they played at the end. But for him to sit there, now he did a great job. He delivers very well, but he's not the candidate. Could the
Right.
candidate answer the questions the way he did? Probably not. But anyway, he
Well, I mean, but
actually,
they let it be a debate because then he kept saying, "Well, can I respond to that?"
well, that's
No.
because Greg Holmes was going hard. Greg was not holding back. So, but here, and the thing is, it doesn't matter because Devin's not the candidate, but it was time to do that. So, but here's what I wanted to say that Devin said. Devin actually said that the county executive works with everybody because the question was, would she listen to the commentary of her opponents and take their points into consideration? And he said, absolutely. She's already given jobs and opportunities to her opponents from before. And I was like, are those jobs and contracts or were they incentives not to run
Not
against
to
her?
run again, right?
You
Mm.
know? So who are those people? That would be Calvin Hawkins, who admitted on our CAG interview that he knew nothing about development, but yet he's over there as the deputy CAO for real estate and something, economic something. And they
Ingrid.
say that Baker, he was in her office and taking pictures, photo ops, because he was going to be some kind of resource for the Transforming Neighborhood initiative coming back. We ain't heard nothing about that since that photo op. Uh, who else? I don't know anybody else that's gotten anything, but those I guess were the two.
Ingrid,
Well, Ingrid didn't run for county executive, but they wanted her out of that
but they wanted her
District
out of that
4
spot.
seat. Right.
Yeah.
So they gave her a job. So, it is time for y'all to do something different. Okay? Different. Different.
Mm.
So is our other person not coming on?
No. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. Haven't heard from them.
Oh, that's too bad. Okay, well, let's see. What else can we
Oh,
talk
and did we
about?
say that CJ's running for District 9?
Yes.
Yeah, that was
Okay.
good. Um, and we will be posting the interview that Tanya and I did last night with Candace Perkins, who's also a candidate for District 9. She couldn't come on tonight. So we'll do that. Um, did we talked about the playground? Did we talk about the playground outside? Did we talk about that online? We already did
Ring
that one.
around the
Oh,
rosy.
okay. Well,
We
Tanya,
weren't online.
Online, I
We
know.
weren't online when we talked about that. Ring
It just felt
around the
like it was.
rosy.
oh, okay. Well, don't listen then, because we're gonna talk about it again. Here's what I'm gonna say to y'all people who think that I'm always against. This is the one thing that I would agree with the county executive on, and that is that civic area
It's ugly.
is hideous. Okay? I know, Sherman, I'm sorry, but it is. It is not attractive. The
Every
colors are overwhelming, overstimulating. They're not good visuals for for promotion, when you got people out there taking pictures, it just not good. Okay, so today everybody's buzzing about the fact that, well, let me catch you up. So outside of the Wayne K. Curry building is what was called the Civic Plaza. So it was already intended that the if you're facing the Curry building, the right side, the right corner was going to be an area where community could gather for outdoor entertainment, public protests, press conferences, anything that was related to the government. If you all know about the CAB in Upper Marlboro, there were two areas, one on the Oden Bowie side and one on the Main Street side, where people would gather to do protests, which y'all don't really do in Prince George's County because y'all soft. But and they would be on the promenade. And on the promenade, which is behind the building facing the courthouse, we had outdoor seating. So the staff would, why you put your camera hand up there? Oh, I thought you were trying to tell me something. So we had outdoor seating where we could have lunch, where you could have meetings, where we had some entertainment, where people protested. And right. And so the Civic Plaza was supposed to provide that, kind of like Freedom Plaza down in front of the district building, right? Well, the district building does not have blue and purple and teal colors on it. And it doesn't have playground equipment, and it doesn't have a dog park where they're gonna poop and you're gonna smell it. Why would employees want to spend their lunch hour sharing space with the community, with people's kids running around? And then on top of that, who's going to secure the playground during the day and then after hours and on the weekend?
And clean up the
spending money. Now let's be clear. This change of what the Civic Plaza was supposed to be looking like or intended to be done was changed or was managed under the Brooks administration. And I know y'all talking about the community wanted this and the community wanted that. Well, if the community wants a playground, they should put one at one of the new buildings, or they need to put it at Carillon whenever that rises from the dead. The government property is not
in a park.
Well, they can do it over there. There's supposed to be an outdoor area at Carillon, right? It's supposed to have green space. So that's where the playground could be, not at the government building. And to be quite Frank, it looks like something from a water park. They got Adirondack aqua blue chairs out there. I mean, it's just not at all soothing or anything like that. So I'm with you, Aisha. Oh,
yeah,
okay. So Treasurer Derek Davis spoke out today and questioned, and I'm shocked, y'all. I know Derek E. Davis. I can't believe he got out there and did an interview and made a public statement. He said the way this was handled was not right. This is a waste of $10 million. And he wants an explanation on how they're going to pay to remove this stuff, if they get to remove it, because that's still a question right there. Because you can't just go and unload government property and give it away, donate it, right? So I love it. I'm here for it. Let's go. I mean, again, I agree with Aisha, but I don't like how they have executed this situation.
Yeah, but they think a resolution takes care of everything in this county. They use resolutions like Trump uses executive orders up in here. But yeah, I don't the whole idea. Now I agree, the whole idea, because I'm always thinking, what is the liability of having that park in front of the government building? And usually when you have parks like that attracts protests and things like that. So But having kids out there playing, what if the kid falls and gets hurt? Who's liable? I mean, one of the things that our government leaders, and it's shocking because some are attorneys, that they don't think about is liability when they put stuff in the public. They just, oh,
Mhm.
I mean, it's like they go to sleep, wake up, and say, "Oh, I got a bright idea.
Yeah.
Let's go find $10 million and implement it." It just doesn't make sense without any thought.
Right.
But yeah, that's gonna be interesting.
Well, I will say that that's one of the projects that Angela also Brooks got finished. I mean, she didn't finish her term, but she did start it. And she inherited it from the Baker administration, and she
Mm.
finished it. I mean, it took 6 years to get it done, but she got it. It got finished. So
You know,
kudos.
what's that? What? Remember that dog Blue? It looks like Blue Land. Remember that? When I look at those colors, they remind me Blue Clues. So
And they
that's what
have
you.
those rods coming up out of the thing. It looks like those pool noodles. That's what it looks like to me. I'm like, where's the
Yeah.
running water? Where's the water feature? Like, it's
Maybe
just
we can make some money with PBS filming something in that area. Because it reminds me of Blue's Clues.
yeah. Somebody said, well, it's an attraction for the Blue Line corridor. I'm like, nobody is
Oh,
coming from Lake Arbor over to the Curry building to play on that area. Now, maybe as
no.
these apartments start to fill up and people have kids and it becomes a little more urban, maybe so, but that's still not where they should be.
But that's
So,
still a bus ride
right.
because the subway is still a distance away from there. That's
No, but
still
I'm
a
talking about the apartments that are right there. Like one's going to be built
which
across the
apartments?
street.
Oh gosh, but you know what? You got all those apartments down there, Largo by Shoppers.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're building the apartments like they did there, where there are those four-story wood frame apartments, people are going to be in and out of those because those apartments, they shift. Um, I mean, shift. Because I was in one. You could see the floor like, you got a nice little slide that you could, in your
Mm-hmm.
own apartment. But yeah, they're not building those apartments, for quality. They're doing this cheap way of doing it. And like I said, as long as it's less than 4 stories, it could be wood frame.
And them
Mm-hmm.
roads
Uh,
be over there too.
you said the rodents?
The roads, they got potholes all in the
Oh
street.
gosh,
You carry your
yes.
pop over there.
Yeah. So I mean, you have so many apartments over there right now because you have those apartments also down where the church used to be, and they built the townhomes and the apartments there. I don't even think those apartments are full.
Mm.
So
Mm-hmm.
we shall see. Where did Sherman go?
Well, what else do we want to talk about? Because we have a
Well,
few more minutes
yeah,
before
let's
our
let's
next.
let's talk about this appointment.
Ah, man.
Whew. Or are we gonna call it the sham? Sham, the fake out, the big fake out.
Mm-hmm.
So,
The
folks,
big fake
understand.
out. Boom, 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 boom. James
Y'all,
Brown.
I was gonna say yeah, but y'all got to remember, this is just the first step. Because remember, the county executive only gets to select. Um, then the board, who are supposed to be the educators or the ones that oversight over the educators, the board is supposed to do their due diligence and then um, work out a with the board chair, which we know he's going to probably do whatever um, he's going to probably do whatever he's told, just like he did to negotiate and get House out. But the board chair negotiates the contract, not the entire board. It's the board chair. And then the board chair is supposed to bring that to the board. And then once it's accepted by the selected candidate, then the board will actually appoint. which they didn't do when he was set as interim, which we told the county, we told the state superintendent, we told the governor, we told everybody that never happened. They finally put it in print that it didn't happen. So he was never ever really appointed in that position legally. And understand that he was never legally appointed and had access to all your kids' records for a whole year. But next thing, but the board still has to appoint. So if you're still in opposition to this selection, because it's just a selection, and shame on the news reporters saying that Aisha Braveboy appointed. Shame on you for not doing your homework. She cannot appoint. She can only select from that list. And then the board appoints, and then the state superintendent has to approve. So um, he's still not legally in that position yet. So
Well,
everybody
what
understand that.
about the qualifications it takes to hold that position? Wasn't there?
Now, I know that Prince George's County in the state of Maryland, they do low in math. I know that math is one of our hardest subjects of performance in this state. So maybe that explains why the math that is required, there is a performance requirement
Right.
that anybody who wants to be a superintendent coming from out of the state of Maryland. And technically, he would be because he was only a superintendent in Tennessee. So, based on state law, he has two pathways. There is the reciprocal pathway, which means he was a superintendent in another state and he's getting reciprocity in the state of Maryland. Now, all the educational background he needs, but the performance requirement mathematically he could not meet. And that has to be 36 months, I think it's 36 or 37 months of um where they
36.
have 36. So it's 36 months of successful performance as a superintendent.
In
He
the state,
only, huh?
in
Within
in the state, within the
within that
oh,
state he's coming
right.
from. And it has to be done within a 7-year period. Now remember, he didn't have he wasn't even in K through 12 education since 2019. And his time in Tennessee only if they count that within a 7-year period, it still only gives him like 9 months.
What was
So
it? Mhm, go ahead. I'm sorry.
So mathematically, he can't meet that pathway. The next pathway is the traditional pathway. The traditional pathway requires was Levon said 26 months
30.
of I think it's 26 months of teaching, 26 or 27 months of
Yeah, I don't
successful
remember.
teaching. Well, he gave up his teaching license as a settlement when he left Tennessee. So he's not within a window of having done any teaching since 2029. So, I
2029,
mean,
Tanya.
2019, 2019, excuse me,
2019.
y'all.
Yeah.
2019, y'all. So mathematically, he cannot make the traditional route. He can, traditional path. He cannot make the reciprocal path. So we asked the State Board of Education, well, what did you do? How'd you make this determination?
Wasn't it? Was that the licensing part?
That's the licensing part.
Okay.
You have to be able to be eligible for the superintendent to um, license or certification. You have to be able to qualify for that. He doesn't meet the math. There's no way mathematically he can get those 27 months or those 36 months. It just can't happen unless the state Board of Education or Maryland State Department of Education actually gave him some type of exception or some type of
Well,
waiver. But
s-
we
and-
don't know because they won't say.
well, that's where I was going. In my opinion, being that he is going to be the superintendent of schools for the whole Prince George's County. Would that information and should that information for all the candidates being considered be available for the public, for the parents, and for the children, the people who need to know who's going to be leading their children through their educational process, K through 12. We don't know that because we have not seen any information on any of the candidates that were vying for the position along with Dr. Joseph.
Well, we're going to take it back a little further. He shouldn't even been in the interim spot because that's a requirement for him to have been in the interim spot.
Wow.
The math don't math. So how that happened, I don't know.
Was it recording all along?
Oh, I don't know.
No,
It's
that
true.
was on.
Oh,
Is that
okay.
my phone?
No. So the math just doesn't math. There's no way. And the bottom line is, um, Maryland State Department of Education, we wrote Dr. Carey Wright, and of course, they got very formal with us and told us to do an MPIA and then took our request and sent it over to their MPIA folks, which means, they're going to try to wait a good 30 or 45 days to not say anything because by that time he would be in the office, and then we always play catch up with their criminal acts.
See,
So, those are the games that your State Department of Education is playing with your children in Prince George's County.
exactly.
This is the type of game that Dr. Carey Wright is playing with your children. You keep hollering about not putting putting unqualified teachers in the classroom, but you're going to put a superintendent or individual vying to be the superintendent who doesn't meet the qualifications over the entire system. And they won't
Wow.
there should be no reason why you can't just tell us what determination did you use? Did you give them a waiver? But then they'd have to explain, why would you take somebody who came from Tennessee with a tarnished reputation and put him in this position when you had three people sitting right in their current seats that were qualified? That could have been interim until you found a permanent superintendent. They would have to explain that. And of course, I guess they don't want to tell more untruths.
Right. All right. Well, it looks like
Unfortunate.
I think that the other issue we have is just the violation of public information in the process. Just we have been doing by precedent, we have been introducing the candidates to the community. We've been having pre-candidate selection interviews with the committee, with the search committee, and then the search committee was asked, what are your priorities, your concerns? And then from there, we would meet the final three candidates. And she just dissed y'all on that one too.
She sure did. She thought she just gave y'all her tail on that one. Her tail to kiss.
All right. Well, we're going to welcome Dr. Jennifer Rios to CAG Chat. She's all glammed up coming from an evening event, and we just thank her for squeezing in this conversation. We had a great impromptu interview with her and other at-large council candidate Sean Floyd the other night at her meet and greet, and it was just a powerful conversation, a powerful moment. And so we said, hey, do you want to come on CAG Chat? And she said, absolutely. So she's in her car because she's leaving the event, but she's not driving. And so we're going to give her an opportunity to share a little bit about herself and why she had decided to run for the council at large seat. Welcome to CAG Chat, Dr. Rios.
Hi, first and foremost, thank you. Thank you so much for allowing me to be a guest here tonight. It has been an absolute pleasure to get to meet with Tanya and LaVon. I got to meet Sherman the other day. Derek, I have not had the pleasure of meeting you yet, but I do look forward to meeting you in person.
Yes, ma'am.
My apologies for being in a vehicle is I've been on the move lately. As you all know, it is campaign season, so it has been a little difficult. But I am so grateful for this opportunity to be able to introduce myself. My name is Dr. Jennifer Rios, and I am running for County Council at Large to bring back the actual reason of why we invented it, to have oversight of the agencies, to make sure that we're reviewing the budget and ensuring that we have transparency and accountability in our county. I am a combat service Army disabled veteran. I served for 13 years in the United States Army Special Ops community. I am airborne and a serial business owner. Not only that, I have been advocating for the minority community in Prince George's County and assisting employers, which are small businesses, as well as students, and mentoring them and creating internships and apprenticeships for them, as well as the employees. So people reach out to me seeking employment, and my job is to try to find them something with one of our chamber members, with the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce of Prince George's County or Prince George's Chamber of Commerce. I am so excited that I've had the opportunity to serve as the HOA president of Marlboro Point in Upper Marlboro in District 6 for the past 2 years, and 3 years as a vice president. So I will now be wrapping up 5 years and assisting with over 103 homes. I have been working strategically with the other HOA presidents to rebuild the trust of the police department in our community. So I am running off of public safety, infrastructure, economic development, and affordable housing. So it has just been a true honor to be on this campaign trail. I do believe that our county needs an overhaul in leadership, and I have been studying leadership for over 4 years, as my doctorate is in business administration and leadership. So I'm going to pause in case you guys have any questions, because I know that's a mouthful.
You're on mute. You're on mute, LaVon.
Thank you. You rolled out a lot of the general questions that we ask, and so you'll get to now expound upon a little bit of what you talked about. So let's talk about, you have a unique, I think you're bringing something different to the council that we've not seen, and that's several advanced degrees, right? And then you said business and leadership. So talk to us about how your professional and educational experience translates into your what you believe the council at large seat should be doing, or how it enhances the work of the council. And we're going to give you 2 minutes, and so I'm going to clock you, so go ahead.
I'm gonna try to be as fast as possible. I like to be high level and very strategic about what I say. So I think my experience in building businesses from zero and growing them into successful businesses. When I first started my business, it was one person, and now I have 25 employees and about 20 1099s. And while building these businesses, I've been able to reach back and help other small businesses so that they can create a company and be able to thrive in Prince George's County in Maryland. I think making smart economic choices when it comes to the development that we're having. If we're going to bring businesses, we need to have a small business program with incentives for small businesses to want to come. We need some type of initiative. We need to make a program where they not only come, but they stay, and that they can live here as well as their employees live here. Also thinking about the roadways and infrastructure, right? If we're going to be bringing businesses, we need to have ways for us to get there. How do these people get to and from? But then also it layers into the housing affordability. If we bring them in, can they live off of $17.25? Can they live off of $15? Can they afford to pay their rent, or are they going to have to live roommate style just so that they can afford it? So I think all of those things go into play when we're thinking about growing the community. And with my multiple degrees of learning from scratch, the pain points of how to build a small business, as well as the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce of Prince George's County, I have done it over and over 3 times in the business industry in IT program management and construction, as well as building a chamber of commerce for our county that serves every minority in our county.
Wow. One last question, and I'll open the floor. I want you mentioned oversight, and one of the things that we see in the last 6 or 8 years of the council has been almost like a takeover of the government of what the county executive should be doing as far as agency roles and responsibilities. So can you talk about the work of the council as an oversight body using and how you would work with the through committees with the agencies?
Yeah, absolutely.
And you can pick one agency in particular that you would like to be more engaged with. Sorry.
I think that's okay. No worries. I think first and foremost, I think every agency needs a transparent plan, and I think it needs to be met every year to have an annual review. I think there are 12 months in the year, and I believe there is enough time for us to sit down with every agency and do a thorough audit, not only of their budget, but also their procedures and what they are producing for the residents. I think that once we do the audit, I think it should be transparent and pushed out to the residents, as well as services that are provided for our county throughout those agencies. They need to be in multiple languages, and our websites need to be updated to reflect that. So I believe that every agency should have an overview, and there are plenty of months, especially in a 4-year term, that we have several opportunities to not only meet with residents to see what they want from those agencies, but also how we can improve those agencies for better communication and to hold each person who is in those seats accountable.
Do you have a particular agency of interest, though?
Right now, Parks and Planning has been very hot right now. So
Right.
I think there's a lot of concern about the budget and moving funds around. And I think if they're going to make a budget and release a budget, I think that the residents should be able to see it and be very transparent. I don't think there should be backdoor deals or money moved around without the residents knowing it is our money.
Yes, ma'am. All right, I'm going to open the floor to my colleagues.
Yes, I have
I have a
one.
question. Go ahead, Derek.
Dr. Jennifer Rios, to anytime we embark on fighting for minorities, what it says to me is that person has some intestinal fortitude, because you have to, because you're going to be pushed back and fought against when you're fighting for equality. That same intestinal fortitude stepping into county council, you're going to be pushed at and pushed back, or do you have that fire to fight back and speak your your mind when you know that they're doing something, like, take for instance, using money for Park and Planet? That is a hot issue. The corruption and the things of that nature. Tell me about how you would speak to that, because everybody doesn't agree at that table.
First and foremost, every job that I have ever had has been in male dominating industries. And as a woman, I have always had to fight, not just as a woman, as a minority woman. And every time I always hold my values, ethics, and morals to the highest standard, ensuring that they are never broken or jeopardized for a dollar. My values and my ethics and morals goes beyond a dollar amount or a promise. And I truly believe that at the end of the day, we work for every resident in Prince George's County. We answer to you all. And I think a lot of politicians get that confused once they get in office.
Great. Thank you for that answer. And I think I heard her say she was 82nd Airborne?
Yes, I was 82nd Airborne for a little bit, but I served mostly in Civil Affairs and Special Ops 95th Civil Affairs Brigade, as well as 528 Sustainment Brigade.
I mean, come on. My brother was 82nd Airborne for a year, and then he decided to get married. So it's close to my heart. Tanya, did you have a question?
Yeah, I did have a question. And the the question goes on the technology side. So this is it seems like it's right down your alley. It seems like we have antiquated technology in our government. You know, I don't understand. I work in the legal field, and one of the things that we have to do is respond to discovery requests. And I can't imagine telling opposing counsel it's going to take 5,000 or 500 hours to collect a few documents and send them on. But so look, when it comes to our technology, what is the thing that you would do to hold the administration accountable, or how would you assess to make sure that our technology is where it should be in the county so that um, we're serving the citizens, we're making sure that what needs to be on that website in reference to contracts that should be public facing, anything that should be public facing is within a portal that we can get to it without always having to do costly MPIA requests.
Well, I will tell you that every system that I have used in Prince George's County has caused me a lot of frustration. And from someone who goes and has federal contracts to fix systems in the federal government, I think that we do need to overhaul. They are outdated systems. I do think that we need to bring in the right companies to do an assessment of every website that we have that faces public. And we need to also see what is it that the residents are requesting on that. I believe in dashboards. I'm big on dashboards to show, like, let's say, for instance, the dashboard at the top says in the right corner, we have 550 potholes to fix, but then it can show you a progress on every time you guys come back up there. We're live updating them live to show how we're getting down to zero. Obviously, people can report it. We can have some type of system that you can click on a link and it goes into it, and then you get to see the progress of the pothole being fixed. Like your
Right.
request has been submitted, and an email goes back out to the resident, and then they take it into the pipeline and they get it across, kind of like a Kanban board in technology from start to finish. And then the resident is notified that, hey, look, the pothole has been fixed. Should you have any
Right.
questions, feel free to reach out to us again. I think there are thorough processes that we can put into place so that residents feel and actually are getting responses back from the government, as opposed to, I called his office 7 times, I never get a response back from him. He just says he's going to send me an email, and there's never any follow-up after that. You have no idea where your request goes. And I know as a HOA president that I have reached out to my District 6 representative at the time, and I can't get anything done. So I definitely would implement processes and ways for us to use technology to be able to go back to our residents and then host meetings as well to ensure that we are seeing what you guys need in order to fulfill your request.
Okay. Yes.
Right. So let's just talk one more, a little bit more, just another minute before you do your closing statement. Address what we had talked previously about, how do I want to couch it? Fiscal responsibility, and you talked about how your business has checks and balances for the way you spend your money. Can you address what that looks like for you, and what you would bring to the council or to the government to replicate it or to improve what's already supposed to be in place but may not be working?
Yeah, absolutely. So as a small business owner, I am part of the Small Business Administration, and I'm part of a program called the 8A program. And there are other ones like Service Disabled Veteran Owned. And in order for me to continue to receive those benefits and certifications, I must comply with their annual audits. And part of it is, if I have money coming in from my business In order for me to spend money, I have to have a receipt in every line item in QuickBooks. I have to respond to my bookkeeper. I have to respond to my accountant. I have to respond to my CPA. I have to respond to the SBA, and I have to respond to the IRS. And I think these checks and balances are there so that we can see that the money that we are getting from the federal government is not being used inappropriately, and making sure that the funding that we are getting is to help grow our small businesses. And I think that we should have an inspector and an audit in place annually for us to have review of the books of where our funds are going. I also believe that if we are going to donate to nonprofits, they need to be registered in the tax assessment in the state of Maryland. They need to be registered in an actual entity, not a friend of a friend, not a boyfriend of, and not a family member. If there is going to be money that is going to donate that is our tax paying dollars, there has to be some benefit for the residents, not because we just bring in a celebrity because we want to look cool. It's not about that. What does that do for us? How is that changing our community? And I think checks and balances need to be in place because we once more answer to the people. The people vote us in, and we should be held accountable for every dollar that we spend of our tax-paying dollars.
Wonderful. Well, we're going to wrap you up so you can head home and finish out your night. I'm sure you got some to-dos left for your campaign. Give us your closing thought and tell people how they can reach out and contact you.
All right. So I just want to thank you all once more for allowing me this opportunity to be able to engage with all the CAG members. It is important that we listen to every resident, regardless of their background or political affiliation. You are still a resident in Prince George's County. I am asking for your vote. If you want change, if you want different, if you want accountability, if you want transparency, if you want leadership that is not just I'm going to say, but you want actions and you want real results, vote for me. I also will say that my campaign has been mostly my savings account. I have been dumping money in for my personal account, so I don't owe anyone a favor. I don't take back money. I take from our residents and hardworking people like you who are out here working hard to try to make a well life for your families. I believe in supporting every age bracket. I believe in supporting our veterans and every person in our county. You can find my website at www.drjenniferrios.com, and I hope that you all will give me the opportunity to serve as your next Prince George's County Council at large. Thank you so much.
And she will be out at the Upper Marlboro Parade on Saturday. So for those of you who will be out, you'll have an opportunity to meet her. And remember, at large means covering all of the people of Prince George's County. So thank you, Dr. Rios.
Thank you, Dr. Rios.
Thank you so much.
It's good to see you again.
You all have a good time with Mr. Sean Floyd. Give him your undivided attention. He's an excellent candidate for at-large as well. God bless. Take care. And again, thank you so much. I look forward to seeing you all soon.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, we are going to move right along, and we'll do kind of a debrief after we finish talking with Mr. Shawn A. Floyd, who is also a candidate for the council at large seat. We had the opportunity to meet Mr. Floyd the other night at Dr. Rios' event, and that's how, it was hot and heavy.
It was.
He is just like Dr. Rios is brings something different to the conversation of candidacy. So does Mr. Floyd. So welcome to CAG Chat, Mr. Floyd. Take yourself off of mute. All right.
Thank you all for having me. How y'all doing this evening?
No problem. I know you have some other stuff, so we're gonna give you about whatever. When you say I'm done, we gave 20 minutes, we can be done with it.
I'm on your time. Let's do it.
All right, wonderful. So we'll start out with a little background of yourself. Who are you? Where'd you grow up? Where'd you go to school? Why do you want to be an at-large council? And what do you do professionally that applies to being an at-large council member?
So thank you again for having me. I appreciate all of your time this evening. My name is Shawn Floyd, and I like to tell people I'm a child of Prince George's County. Born, raised here, went to elementary school, middle school, and graduated from Oxon Hill High School. Shout out to the Clippers who are paying attention at the moment. But then went on to become a first-generation college graduate and built a career in education, public service, and community advocacy. Most recently, I was the manager for national programs and outreach for the National Coalition on Black Civic Participation, where we basically spent time. I managed their Unity program, which was composed of about 80 different groups and organizations, from labor unions to nonprofits and all of that. And we basically were engaged in our member states, which were about 14 or 15 different states, mostly in the South, to get them connected to civic engagement and dive into their local elections to become stronger and get representation that they see that matters to them.
Wonderful. So, now you've been a little modest here, and I don't know if you want to say it, but I'd like to hear more about your experience with the DC government and how that
So,
translates into your work here.
absolutely. So, as I said, I built a career in education, public service, and community advocacy. So, I worked for Prince George's County Public Schools, charter schools in DC, and I'm an adjunct professor at George Washington University, where I teach a campaigns and elections practicum. As far as public service goes, most recently I worked for Mayor Bowser for her first term. I was her director of scheduling for the first 6 months, and then chief of staff to the senior advisor for about 3.5 years, where we handled all of her policy from local level all the way up to international and special projects. And lastly, like I said, my work at the National Association, but I also have spent time working on campaigns across the country, from President Obama in 2012 as the operations director in Pennsylvania, to Mayor de Blasio in New York, and a few other folks in Illinois, in Florida, in Richmond, Virginia. But to your point, with all of that experience, it really caused me to look back and say, we have some work to do right here at home. And that's what made me decide to settle down and focus and run for the at-large seat.
Wonderful. So, what would be your three priorities or concerns? Or what are your three priorities and concerns as you're a candidate, and how would that transfer into being a council member?
So I think we're hearing some buzzwords lately, but in actuality, as that word says behind you all, accountability and transparency is the most important thing for me right now. I think that it is very important for us to really understand where our money is going and how it's being spent. And I don't think we have a thorough grasp of that right now as a reflection of our current council. I think in addition to that, strengthening our education system. I know that, we have focused on our youth, especially with the nomination of the new superintendent now from the county executive recently. But education is a lifelong experience, and we have to look at education as a whole for our adult learners as well as our learners who don't speak English or English is not their first language. Again, we've lost over 30,000 jobs from the federal government, and there are quite a few people who need to be retrained or sharpen their skills, if you will, in order to move on to their next career. And lastly, I think in addition to education, we got to get back to community. What does community look like? That means looking at our local and small businesses. That means economic development. That means looking at how we're working, how our housing system is working for our not just our new homeowners, but our existing homeowners, because our existing homeowners have been the backbone of our tax base, given that our economic tax base is so low. So I think those are my three priorities: our tax base and getting back to community education, of course, and then that transparency and accountability.
Wonderful. You didn't the other night, you mentioned something, and Dr. Rios also referenced it. Can you talk to us about the review process that is done with the agencies in DC government that you want to bring to the county?
So that's a part of my transparency and accountability process. I think that previously working for DC government, one of the things that I love the fact that they do is they hold agency oversight hearings every year prior to their budget hearings. What that would allow us to do is really go back to all of the agencies that we fund on an annual basis and say, hey, what exactly did you do with the money we gave you last year? How much money of that do you still have, and where are the deficiencies, so that as we are planning our budget for the next year, we're able to make sure we are appropriating money in a sufficient way for all of our residents, not just for some. I think that the bigger piece behind that is plain and simple. when we can follow our dollars and we know how they're being spent, we can get better results or know where we need to do more work as a government in order to provide those resources for our residents. And I think that that's one of the biggest things that is very unclear right now. It is an option for the county to do it, but I want to make it mandatory so that every year our residents can know we gave we gave DPWT this amount of money. This is how it went. This is where we invested in snow or removal or stormwater drainage or whatever the case may be. And that was why it was sufficient and why we should give them more money next year if that's what they're requesting.
Yeah, my experience as far as public disclosure is that the police department always has to make reports about what crime stats are.
Mhm.
I really struggle to remember anyone producing a report on mid-budget or midterm, I'm sorry, mid-year budget standings, right? And so that was really intriguing to me. And I think that along with improving the committee work that is supposed to be done in partnership with the agencies, we have to find a way that makes it legally um, a mandate that directors of agencies show up to talk to the council. And I think that one of the struggles that the council has is that they are trying to develop their own programs and outreach and services because they've not had access to agency directors in the previous administration is what I was told. And so there's a culture that's been created. And so I do believe that that oversight is critically important and needs to be improved. So I'm going to open the floor to Ms. Wingfield or Mr. Holmesley. Either of you have questions?
Is Sherman coming back for questions too? Let me let
Okay.
Derek go first.
How you doing, brother Floyd?
I'm fantastic. How about yourself?
All right, I'm blessed, my brother. Everything you said is needed and it sounds good, but similar to what I said, I asked the Dr. Rios, when you're sitting at that county council table as a county council at large member, and they look at you and tell you, Brother Floyd, that ain't happening. We ain't doing that. You getting into too many of the cookie jars. We don't need all of that. We transparency and accountability because we trying to do something over here with this money. We need somebody that's a pit bull, brother. That's going to push back. How do you perceive yourself handling that situation in that moment?
So I think there are a couple of things that you pointed out right there, right? The first thing is you can't get anything done on this council without getting the 6 votes. So you got to be able to work with your other council members and collaborate and figure out on what those things look like. What I can't sit here and do is promise you that if I'm elected, all of this stuff is going to happen instantly. But what I can tell you is that's exactly what I would fight for. I think the second point that you just made is it's not just me doing it by myself. I think it is me being in the position as the council member to introduce the legislation and advocate with my colleagues to do that. But at the end of the day, I need the support of all the residents who decided to vote me in and even those who decided not to vote me in. Because at the end of the day, the information is really more for our residents and not for us on the council. Behind those closed doors, they know everything that's going on. Right? They're the ones managing the money, moving things around however they see fit. And in actuality, it's the residents on the back end that goes, okay, well, now that they've done everything that they can do and moved everything around, this is what they're going to tell us and let us know. And I think if that's not something that they're willing to do, that's something we got to take back to the residents and really get the residents involved in as well to say, hey, look, this is what we want. These are the things that we want to know. We want to make these processes more transparent. And that's who I'm here to advocate on behalf if I was elected.
Thank you.
Good stuff. Tanya?
Um, we need a recall law. We know that. And we know it's not it can't just happen by the people signing a petition or pushing saying that we need a recall law. So as a local legislator, knowing that you're going to have to reach across the aisles, would you be committed to doing what you could to get this constitutional amendment, and and I know this is outside of your jurisdiction, but to work to get that bring that coalition together to get this constitutional amendment so that we can have a recall law in Maryland.
So the direct answer is yes. And I actually don't think it's outside of our jurisdiction. I think that part of the job, especially as an at-large council member, is to work with our state and congressional delegations as well. So I think if that's what it takes to work at the state level to get this done, then that's what we should be able to do. At the end of the day, even if I am elected and I was disappointing to the voters who decided to vote me in, I should be able to have, you all should be able to have the ability to recall and say, no, this is not what I elected you to do. You're not doing these things, and we need to make some shifts. That is truly one of the challenges, in my opinion, about how we're growing as a county. We have not had a stable government in well over a year, but even within the last year, we've probably been the most unstable between appointments and special
Mm-hmm.
elections and all of those other things. And which I get, there's always a process because people move on. But again, even in those processes, everything has not been transparent so that the people can really understand who is up for election or special appointment, what their true qualifications are, and why these are actually good people for us to select to fill remaining vacancies on behalf of our residents.
Right.
Okay.
So we didn't ask Dr. Rios this, but Tom DeNoga introduced a bill to to get the voters to revoke the at-large seats. And so it's a two-part question, which I don't tend to do, but we got a little bit of time.
Let's do it.
So one, how do you feel about that? And two, the criticism has been that the two people who ended up getting the at-large seats did not do them justice. They did not do them the way they were intended to be done. And you can agree or disagree whether or not the seats were created for their benefit. Historically, we had at-large seats years ago. So we're
Correct.
just returning them. And so we can't do anything about the fact that they did not perform well or the way we thought they should do it. So the two-part question is, one, I'm sure if you win, you will work against that ballot question. And two, and maybe you can reverse it, how do you see your responsibility as an at-large member versus just being a council member? Like, what makes it special? What are your special interests in being an at-large member? Because I think that people need to hear a vision for the at-large seats so that they can better decide in November if they are for or against it.
1000%. So I think a couple of different things. One, having worked in DC government, where they have a council with at-large members, and dealing with in the mayor's office with legislation and policy and having to work with all of the council members on her behalf, I understand exactly how effective the at-large council members can actually be. So let me say it this way. I think the first thing I want people to understand is that everybody in this county has three council members. You have your district council member, and then you have the two at-large council members because they're voted on by the whole county. Secondly, I think that there are two things that are the responsibility of the at-large council members as a whole. The first is to understand what each district's priorities are. So you need to collaborate with each of the district council members to understand what's going on in their districts, how things are happening, and what are some of the things that they need or don't need, quite honestly, for that matter. And then I think the second thing for the at-large council member is to understand how those individual district priorities work as a whole for the county's priorities. As an at-large council member, your job is to represent everybody as a whole, in essence, to create that sense of community. And I think that's one of the things that we are missing. I think that we can easily look and say there are certain things happening at the northern end of the county, or there's certain things that are happening or not happening at the southern end of the county. But the question is, do either end of the county know what's happening at the other end? And I think that's where some of the disconnect is. I don't think it is the individual council member's job, excuse me, the individual district council member's job to necessarily know what's happening in the other districts. I think it would be great, but that is one of the bridges that, to me, that the at-large council members are supposed to build. And to your point, I don't know that we have done that effectively since we have reestablished the at-large seats. I think that to your point about previously having the at-large seats, they kind of worked in a different way the first time we had them. So I could understand why people may or may not have thought that they were effective or not. I think now that we are 9 districts in with an individual district representative, the at-large council members have a leadership opportunity to build bridges up and down the ticket from the state and federal level, to even working with our local municipalities and understanding what each of them need, and how we can support them. So the scope of the at-large council member is very big. I won't deny that. But again, if you're working in collaboration, it's not as big because you have partners and allies that you're working with along the way.
Right. I thank you for that because
Mm-hmm.
I think that a good example, and we talked about this when we were just kind of spending some time between conversations. If you look at Conterra, the far end of the county, and how long it took for them to get that project off the ground, but it is moving forward with the speed of light. They got the ICC core, connection, right? And then you look at Westphalia and how it has struggled. And then the fact that Tom DeNoga butted himself into our part of the district or the county by saying no development, moratorium on townhouses, only inside the Beltway. And then you look at Bowie, and they were able to annex across Central Avenue so that they could have South Lake. And their project is doing commercial
Fantastic.
simultaneously with housing. So I think it's called Millwood on 301 by the across from the Walmart. And they're doing the same thing. They're building townhouses and they've got commercial going up at the same time. So you have to wonder, and I know it's different developers and builders and all the things, but I think that the role of the at-large member is to look at the internal politics and protect
Correct.
the county residents and businesses and other folks, and look at the county from a place of what is equitable. Can that project, instead of it going over here, maybe we can use it here? And so maybe there's a way to entertain the interest of a developer to go to another part of the county. Look at the Suitland Town Center.
Right.
That project should be done by now, at least looking like a town center, but it has not. And so there are some discrepancies, right? There are some things that we really should be concerned about. And I believe it's coming from some internal discriminatory attitudes. And that's what we look to the at-large member to sit behind those closed doors and call a foul a foul.
So I think that there are a couple of things that you said in there that are very true. I personally live in District 7 in the Suitland community, so I know exactly everything you're talking about with the Suitland Town Center. And as a matter of fact, I think right now we're finally about to start the new water tower project with Creative Suitland and some other folks, to spruce up the community, if you will. I think one of the bigger challenges that we have right now, to your point, is empowering our residents. I think in the southern portion of the county, you're seeing that a little bit more. The Brandywine area, the Fort Washington area, even some areas in Accokeek, folks are starting to come together in that form of a community to advocate for some of the things that they need. I think that is a challenge that we have and have not quite honestly built in the way we need to inside the Beltway. So when some of these projects are happening, they don't have the advocates or the people who will show up to hearings, to make their voices heard and say, wait a minute, you all promised us this and these things aren't happening.
Right.
So this gets back in a way to some extent to our accountability, right? We're electing folks who they say they have our priorities at heart, and we don't necessarily have the tools or have not actively engaged in holding them accountable for the things that they've said they
Mm-hmm.
will produce. I think the other thing is we have to do a better job as a county of showing the opportunity of the county as a whole, not just those select areas that you're pointing out. So I look at, take something like National Harbor. National Harbor's great. It's been a great resource for the county. The Sphere is coming. I think the Sphere could be a great economic opportunity for us there, but nobody's talking about National Landing that's being built right next door. That's supposed to be four or five different units of housing, some for seniors, affordable income, and a couple of other things, with a amphitheater, parks, retail, shopping center, all of those things. And I think it will do great for the
Hmm.
community of Fort Washington. I mean, I'm sorry, not Fort Washington, Forest Heights, where it's going, right? But again, they came together, they advocated for it. I actually went to a hearing to where they were able to go in and talk to the developers about some of the things that they need that or that they want to see in that space. Now, there's still some things that they're working on when it comes to traffic congestion and things like that. But again, are we having those conversations the same way inside the Beltway, in our Suitland, in our Capitol Heights, in our District Heights areas? And I don't think that we are. I look at a project like the Blue Line Corridor, which I think is great, but we all know the commanders are leaving. So how do we even tap into some of that? And I think we're not thinking big enough with that project. The Blue Line Corridor is on Central Avenue. It connects us to the 515 acres at Six Flags where the Durant Group is going to get ready to start develop. It can be a pathway within 2 minutes to connect us to downtown Largo, where we're already building and engaging things there. And then, quite honestly, Central Avenue connects us to East Capitol Street, which will take you right to the brand new Commander Stadium. So we have an opportunity for folks who may want to pregame, who may want to come in and stay overnight before they do it without a town guest, to utilize some of the things that we can offer that, quite honestly, DC won't be able to offer within that stretch of the stadium.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we have to look at some of these things as like and say, hey, okay, what are our real opportunities, and are we just getting started, or is this a
Right.
finished project?
Mhm. So last question, and we'll close you out, if you don't mind. You
Sure.
talked about your experience as a community engagement professional. How would you, one of the criticisms that we have with folks is that their community engagement is limited to taking photos and sending emails about events. So what would your community engagement look like having to span the county?
So I think first of all, as we know, it's a big county. I think the expectation is using all channels and avenues at your resource, at your disposal, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think we got very comfortable, to your point, with pictures and social media because that was a quicker way to get information out there. And in the beginning, I will say it actually worked. But now with all the algorithms and different things like that, you're getting information even there late. So it's like even if you put it in the mail and it takes 3 to 5 days for you to get it in the mail, it's almost the same process on social media because of algorithms and how they now feed you information. So I think we have to layer down. I don't think you can limit yourselves. Oh, I don't think we can limit ourselves to only engaging in a digital or paper format. The same way we're on this campaign trail, knocking on doors and getting out in the community, is exactly
Mm-hmm.
what we need to be doing as well while we're in office. So for me, that means at least in the first year, I want to hold a monthly town hall. Right. And we should do it around the districts so that it's convenient for everybody, or in some way to do it. And it's after work. It's not during the day, during somebody's lunch hour or at breakfast time for coffee and donuts, which I don't think is bad, but it's not
Mm-hmm.
necessarily as readily available for more of our residents. Right. I
Right.
think if it has to be done on a weekend, then we need to look into weekends when most folks may or may not be working, but give them the opportunity to figure out, hey, when's a good time that you can show up to say, these are my concerns, or I want to say thank you for this because you all have done a great job, right? We hear a lot about the complaints that are happening within the county, but we legitimately are also still doing some good things. And I think we need to acknowledge that, but also share that with the other residents who don't know because they may only be seeing the bad side of what's happening in our county. This is what we have to do. This branding of gorgeous Prince George's, we're still gorgeous. It's probably a little time for a touch up, but it is. We're still gorgeous. I promise you. We have an internationally award-winning parks and recreation system that does work at all levels. But even they know their challenges and have been working diligently over the years to get better. I'm take a step back really quickly. For full disclosure, I also serve as the vice chair of the Prince George's County Parks and Recreations Advisory Board. So I've spent 3 years working with the teams and leadership at Park and Recreations to know that they are looking at things and how their investments will help our residents. From doing surveys to now introducing a new mascot so that people have something to associate with them with and get involved in a more friendly and community way. So we are doing some great things here in Prince George's County. But I do think that, again, we could be doing better, especially when we look at some of the things that are happening in some of our neighboring jurisdictions. We don't really have Fortune 500 company headquarters here for jobs and things like that. Whereas you got like a Marriott in Bethesda, you got the Amazon Prime 2 site in Virginia at what's now National Landing. The Netflix just opened up a headquarters office in downtown DC. So we have opportunity. We're in the proximity of all three of those places. So I don't see why Prince George's should not have been considered or shouldn't have been one of the places that we got one of those headquarters.
Lamont,
Wow, that was
can I just piggyback on one real quick question about the parking planning? Just give just a quick question if you response.
Absolutely.
How is these constant transfers of money to the council impacting us maintaining this our award-winning status?
So unlike some other folks, I'm going to tell you I don't know yet. And I'm going to be 100% honest about that, right? Because it has been happening in smaller dollar increments, but now we're getting into a big space. If you look at the amount of money that was moved in the fall, it was roughly about $20 million. And then now, after the legislation that the governor said you can't do any more mid-year budget moves, they did it at budget cycle, which made it look completely legit, but you're now at almost $40 million. So you've doubled the amount of money you've been moving in less than a year. Now, to me, that's going to affect programming. It probably will affect staffing. And it quite honestly probably will affect the services that we're able to provide to our residents across all levels. And I think that's where my real concern comes in with the amount of money that we're moving. Parking planning has a dedicated tax that goes to it. Or a fund that funds parking planning. So that money is specifically earmarked to support residents across our whole county, not to be a piggy bank for them to take money and then support projects that they think would be great or fill in gaps where they think we may have had deficiencies. I won't tell you, and I'll be 100% honest, I'm not going to say we've always equitably spread our money across the county, right? But these individual funds aren't necessarily the place to go to restore that quote unquote equity. That's what the whole county budget is for. Let's look at what those dollars look like, how they're being spent, how much of those dollars are being spent sufficiently or insufficiently, and then fix those gaps so that we can make sure the equity is across the board.
Thank you.
You're on mute.
You're on mute.
I know I got this allergy cough. So this was great. And let the people know whatever your closing thought is, and let the people know how they can find you.
Listen, I want to say thank you all again for giving me the opportunity to speak on your platform. I hope that some of the things that I said resonate with our voters, and that you're willing to give me a chance. I'm Shawn Floyd, native child of Prince George's County. I have no aspirations at this moment to be anything else than your next at-large council member. You can find out more information on my website at www.ShawnAFloyd.com. on all social media at ShawnAFloyd.com. And if you're so inclined, as we're getting closer to the election day, feel free to make a donation because I could use it. All of my money has come from individual donors, so I would appreciate any additional support that the folks may want to give me.
Wonderful. Thank you for
All
joining
right.
us.
Thank you so much, Shawn, for coming. Good to see you again.
Thank you all. Appreciate your time. Have a blessed day.
You
Yes,
too.
well, thank you.
Bye.
Be safe out. Well, this was a
Well,
great
it was
CAG
good.
Chat.
I want to say, people, okay, we
New
keep
blood.
saying We keep saying we want change, we want change, we want change. We keep seeing y'all. I'm tired, I'm tired, I'm tired. We keep seeing these folks are getting on my nerve. These folks are disrespectful. You know what? You can change all of that with a vote. If you're really tired, if you're really sick and tired of you just heard Shawn talk about the amount of money. And remember, we on CAG said once that language was passed in that budget, we told y'all, watch them go back and increase the money that they're going to swipe, I'm going to call it steal from
Mhm.
park and planning. Because your
Yeah.
money that you pay for park and planning is a dedicated tax on your tax bill.
Yep.
It says for park and planning. It doesn't say for surplus for the county when they don't spend right. That is not how that money is earmarked. So
Yeah.
if y'all are really sick and tired, then this is what y'all need to do. I know you are one vote, but I know some of you know 10, 20, 30 people. You need to go talk to those people you know in this county and say, you know what? We are sick and tired. This is what I need you to do come election time. Incumbents, vote out because they're the ones who got us in this mess. I don't want to hear the ones that say, oh, I voted against this. Well, you sat around and watched so much mess before you voted against one thing that we are where we are. So you don't get a pass. You sat here and you helped make this, you threw wood on this fire, and hey, it is now a flame that is uncontrollable. So it is time to get serious. Talk to 10 people, email 10 people, say, look, this is how I'm voting, and I want you to support how I'm voting. I'm just going to be open. These two candidates that just came up here, I'm sorry, I'm going to say it. They got my vote for at large. They both have my vote for at large. We need experience on the council. We need integrity on the council. We need people who are in the business world and handling their business responsibly, not running around taking your tax dollars buying new homes, shoes, cars, and purses. That's not what we need. We need people who are going to be serious about your tax dollars. So I am saying, Dr. Jennifer Rios and Sean A. Floyd, tell 10, 20, 30, 40 people. Oh, Sherman Hardy, you in District 9, you tell 10, 20, 30, 40 people. This is these are the names I need you to vote for. And then
Right.
you go tell 10, 20, 30, 40 people, because it's the only way we're going to get change. We got to get serious. Just like if you can, if we can see um seats in um deep red southern states flip because people are serious and they're sick and tired of being sick and tired, we can definitely see it happen here in Prince George's County.
Mhm.
So, we love you coming on the page, but it is time for you all next week to get ready to go vote and vote these incumbents out.
And
And the ones running for other office too. Vote them out.
I
Go
just
ahead.
want to say that people who say, well, it's your personal decision, it's this, that, and the other. Okay, then your first priority is to ask people, do they plan to vote? Right? Do you plan to vote? Yes, I plan to vote. Okay, have you selected your candidates? Well, I don't really know. I figured I'd get the senator, that piece of mail they send us. No, no, no. Let me help you out. I do this all the time. I can have my choices, but I can always say, here's why this person is my choice, and
Hmm.
here's why these people are not my choice. But here's what I can say may be a positive for each one of those people. So there is a way to have a conversation. I mean, people all over the country are breaking up families because they got loved ones who voted for Trump. So if people can be that serious about what's happening at the federal level, you need to be that serious about what's happening right
Right
here.
here.
All
Mm-hmm.
politics is local. Your local politics, your local policies will have more impact on you than anything else. The only caveat is that Prince George's County sits in the shadow of the federal government, and we are high earners in the federal government. So we are an anomaly in the discussion of what's happening at the national level. So please, y'all, don't tell us, well, they don't have a chance. They don't have a chance if you don't vote for them.
Exactly.
That's the only thing that this does. A vote can lead to a win, but no vote will lead to the win of somebody else. So prioritize the candidates and figure out where you're going to join in. And then speaking of Sherman, we haven't interviewed him. And so I think we should set up a special CAG chat so that we can give Sherman the same opportunity to have a
Mm-hmm.
conversation. I mean, he's been doing his posts and all those things, but what would life be without a conversation with Sherman?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
People
yep.
see me all the time on here.
Yeah, but we need
Yeah.
them to hear you as the candidate, not the
Right.
activist or advocate, right?
And, and,
Everybody ain't on TikTok, everybody on Instagram, everybody on Facebook. And so people like going to YouTube. I'm hearing people like being able to go to YouTube and watch our stuff. And so we're gonna have to get that YouTube channel up and growing. And so we're gonna set up a time when we can talk to Sherm, in the words of Donna, hi Donna, and give him the same questions and same opportunity to speak.
Yes.
And we are grateful for this platform. We are grateful for the
All
outpouring.
I hear is extra work for me.
Ah, no,
This,
no, we can, but you know what?
that ain't no extra work. You do this stuff
No, it's
when
all
you don't
good.
sleep. Okay?
But you know
Don't
what?
try it.
And can we just toot Sherman's horn? Just look, you know what? Sherman goes out and get these MPIAs, and we have our little GoFundMe that we're using for court cases, but Sherman takes the money out of his pocket and gets this stuff done, and he's doing this for y'all. So for some of y'all who are being so flippant about it and want to say he's just advocating, no, he is protecting your rights. And think about what he will do if he's in office doing it, because he's doing it right now. Um, and it's easy for folks to say, well, you've seen me a lot. I've been in the community a lot. You know me. Yeah, and nothing against that. I think there's some very good candidates in the District 9 race. I just the problem that we have right now in our county government is we need to rebuild. You're not coming into a position where you can do business as usual. We need to have a turnaround. And in order to have a turnaround, we have to have people who are willing to say, you know what? That we are not going to do this. I'm not going to partake of this. I'm not going to be pressured to do it. And I'll be quite honest, I'm disappointed in seeing certain candidates aligning themselves with certain people that are messing up our government just to get elected. That is not what we need in any seat at the county council. We don't need it. I don't want to hear I'm endorsed by here, I'm endorsed by there, I'm endorsed by you, I'm endorsed by them. I don't care about the endorsements because a lot of those people endorsing you are the very people only trying to stay in power.
Yep.
And that is why they are endorsing you, to make sure the people who will actually hold them accountable are not in the office.
Right.
So, folks, it's not a popularity contest. I mean, if you really want to vote based on popularity, watch Star Search, watch American Idol, Star Search doesn't come anymore. Watch American Idol, watch one of those shows where you can dial in and say, I'm going to vote my popular person. That's when you start voting popularity. But when it comes to our local government, we need people who are going to, they know the job. And I'm going to say, with the District 9 candidates for the council, just about all of them understand they know the job. Um, but you got to look at what's next that they're going to bring. Again, we need to restore in our government, and you can't do that bringing the same mentality of I've been
Kumbaya,
here.
my lord, kumbaya,
Exactly.
kumbaya, my
I've
lord,
been
You know,
here. I've been
kumbaya.
around. We just can't do it.
that's
So
Yeah.
what
actually
I would
what my crest says. Nobody probably ever noticed it or even paid attention to it, but so my colors are due to the land, the green that that we walk upon, and the gold is for the sun. Because every day that the sun rises, I have a new opportunity to do it again. So like those are the colors that remind. Those are not my favorite colors by far at all, but those are colors that kind of speak to me in different ways. But my crest, because you said restore, that's actually what it says. I can't remember the Latin word for it, but it's renew and restore. That's what's
Hmm.
actually in that. So just a little,
He's
since
so
we're on the
Yes.
subject.
multi-layered, y'all. He's a renaissance man. He deep. He deep. And I feel like
Lord,
too many people are shallow and they don't set their expectations for the public. And I'm not, this ain't my opinion. This is based on my experience. They play and expect y'all to forget, to not pay
Hmm.
attention, to not question, to not challenge, right? And so if your council member is moot on a $39 million snatch or raid, in the words of Governor Wes Moore,
Hmm.
and they don't even show up, they leave the budget session and they have no comment, but they've been on the news before talking about stuff, and then they disappear.
Right.
They're not addressing it, and they turn off their comments on social media.
Right.
And this is not their first time representing the county in an elected seat. This is their second seat. And so my
Hmm.
thing is, they not a novice, they not inexperienced. I don't care what your personality is. If you can't man up and speak up and say to your constituents, this is what's on the agenda next week, y'all. I need you to show up and
Right.
testify. You don't
Hmm.
wait until you see your constituents sitting in the council chamber and say, you should say this. And you know what they doing? They doing this, that, and the other.
Right.
And I spoke up. Yeah, I'm telling it. I'm telling it.
listen,
How
Levon.
dare you ask? Or he ain't even had the decency to ask for
Now
our
you get
input.
specific.
I don't care. That's
Well,
what it's about.
but you
He
know,
don't.
we gotta call
He,
out.
he didn't have the. He has not had the decency to even do a video post asking the people of District 9 to support him as an at-large member. But I got people telling me, well, he's experienced. No, he ain't. He's a good rote memorization kind of person who can say back to people what he has learned, but he is not a in the moment, let me tell you what I believe person. And he runs from people who challenge him. And I've had enough of it. And him tagging along with Jolene Ivy, cancel both of them. If Jolene had stayed in her seat and not run for that at-large seat, we wouldn't have musical chairs.
You
She knew
sure
she wanted
wouldn't.
to be county executive, so she should have stayed in that seat and been the adult in the room. I don't care. I've had enough of y'all people. I'ma say it and I'ma keep saying it and I'ma tell the truth and I'ma shame the devil because we got evil roaming the land called Prince George's County. And
You
these
don't think
people
she
know,
delayed the inevitable for a little while longer?
huh?
You don't think she delayed the inevitable for a little while longer?
Mm-mm. No, that she triggered it. She triggered this, and
No,
and
she did.
and you know, and the other thing too, you know, y'all are always talking about Well, if we need these programs, y'all need to understand when you take from something that has already been earmarked, then that becomes a deficiency over there.
Right.
And then you're now saying it. See, and I guess everybody think just because it don't say that was Paul and that was Peter, you don't understand. That's still robbing Paul to pay Peter.
Right.
That money has been earmarked.
And we
So
don't
it,
have any commercial revenue. You cannot say we have a zero deficit when we have no money
no
coming
coming
in.
in. But and then to finish that other point though about this money, well, who do our parks and recreations, who do they service? Our children.
Exactly.
So
Well,
now
not
you're
just the
taking,
children,
but
the
mainly,
seniors too.
Well, the
well, the
senior
seniors
citizens
too,
as
but
well.
mainly I'm looking at the children because the children already in the county don't have enough to do. They're always complaining there's not enough for them to do. And now the county council, because somebody wants to have an annual crab feast, an annual senior prom in their district, somebody wants to have an academy, and all you're doing is stealing money. What are you teaching the kids? Everybody wants to have something in their district because everybody's trying to do that. Now there's a deficiency of where we've already said the services are lacking for youth. And you've already taken from that dedicated money that was earmarked so that the kids could have something more to do. You've taken that up. This grown-ups, this thing of always making sure that the people that come last are children and seniors. And it is such a shame because coming from a government, a local government that is black led, and you continue to do the very things that you claim your white oppressors are doing, you do to your own people, and got the nerve to sit up here and smile and walk around with these prima donna looks, running around looking like you're Miss Glamour Queens and Mr. Suave GQ, and you're sitting up here and you ain't nothing but thieves. You are thieves. You are taking from children. You are taking from seniors. And God dang it, I'm a senior.
And you
Out.
walking on the back of middle income families. But just like the
Exactly.
whole library thing, right?
Oh,
They got a free food bank in the library, right? Now, yes, we know that people are hungry. We know that there are food deserts. But that money, my understanding, is coming out of one district member's budget. So what happens down the road when that all that big money that each council member gets that they need to be reducing their discretionary monies? What happens when that takes place and they can't fund that grocery or that food bank in the library? So
right.
instead, why
It
didn't
get
they?
cut.
Huh?
The
No,
program gets cut.
Right, the
no,
program gets cut.
they're gonna find another Paul to steal from to
Right,
give to Peter.
but what we have the storehouse, right? Who the only black owned food bank in the country. She has fed thousands of families, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why not work with her
They are working with
Right.
her.
huh?
They are working with her.
Yeah, but now you're competing, you're taking money and
Right.
putting money in the
Well, that's because
library
you can't
that
put
you
your name on her bags.
right, that you could have put on the storehouse. And so they're running nonprofit services outside of the governance of agencies. And that's
The
Right.
storehouse got 100K out of the
right.
project charges.
No, I'm not saying that they haven't got any money, but what I'm
Oh.
saying is they are creating duplication of effort when they
Effort.
criticized that before, and then what you're doing is you're competing with your nonprofits, and you're not
So
including
that there's a
social service
difference.
agencies.
It's a difference from um, the pantry versus having what it is they put there, because there's a nonprofit that's actually going to manage and do that. So I'm not sure if you know Mel and or whomever has a staff to like set it up and place somebody there to continue monitoring or whatnot.
It's still
Well, but
it's still competing against the best interests of what is already in place. It is not the
Mm-hmm.
work of the council members to
Mhm.
identify nonprofits basically funding their jobs.
Right.
I remember when the county wasn't funding staffing positions. Come on, we have to be real clear about what the role of the council
Well,
is.
really, it also needs to be unbranded as well. And when I say unbranded, I think that's something that um, the council should start looking into when they either put their name and all the information on, the paraphernalia or whatever it
Mhm.
is that they have, or if they just, it's council, like the Prince George's
Right,
County Council, or something like
right,
that. I think that's a better move, because what happens when she leaves that seat? Because she's
right,
gonna leave it,
right.
no
All
matter
that money
when.
wasted.
Yeah, so I mean, does the next person? It's just like how we change the signs when
It
we have
creates
an
a
election all
It
around.
used to be this county seal, and it would say office of the county council with the council member's name and the district. It wasn't no, we got 50 colors, blue, yellow, green, purple, red, all of that stuff that translates
Hmm.
into campaign
Hmm.
memorabilia of paraphernalia. And
The
We,
so,
branding,
you
yeah.
know what? We need to revisit this discretionary funds for the council, period. Because
mhm,
it has gotten out of hand. It has just gotten out of hand. And again, I will continue to say, Calvin Hawkins, you told me you were going to look into this before you left. CB099 of 2022, that you all you allowed it to be changed, and ever since that was changed, it has just y'all have just run amok with how you're bringing in nonprofits all willy-nilly everywhere. That bill needs to be looked at again. CB 099 of 2022, because once they change the definition of recreation providers to include nonprofits, the the actual nonprofit entities that were in there were like within the framework of your local government. And so there was monitoring that could be done of those agencies like libraries and schools. Then when they allowed just straight up nonprofits, and this was sponsored by, and that's why I don't want to hear anybody talking about I'm fighting that it. Every member voted for that. And I remember when I asked about it, oh, we're just trying to give him something because he's new to the council. It's not a matter of making him feel good. You're supposed to do what is right to protect people, the citizens. So now y'all have unleashed this Frankenstein on us, this Frankenstein of just spending everything. And then the minute they run out of money, they go try to find another money source and take from that. And this has got to stop. So we need council members that are going to go back and really look at these discretionary funds. There's no reason why any council person should have a 1 million, 2 million, $3 million discretionary budget funds for given to a nonprofit. That makes no sense. You all are supposed to look at programs and make sure that these programs are giving the citizens, that they're functioning right. Two, that they have adequate funding. Three, if they're not functioning right, they don't get any more of our money. That's what you're supposed to be doing,
Derek, you had a
but
question?
not creating these funds. Or excuse me, these programs. Go ahead, Derek.
Now, I don't have a question. I have
Statement.
a statement. This young brother, Sherman Hardy, reminds me of myself in my late 20s and early 30s. I had the energy and vigor. I still have it, but had more energy and vigor to study things in this county and challenge things in this county, and it got me in some trouble. But Sherman, I toot your horn and I celebrate you not because you're a part of CAG, but because I watch you spend your own money. I watch you
mhm,
do hours of relentless research, and you spill it back out to the constituents and the members in the community to keep them informed of the corruption that is going on behind the scenes, and that takes intestinal fortitude. That takes backbone and heart. I mean, you had me. I thought you was a little crazy, but you had me when you went and put the Batman suit on. I mean, that takes courage, man, because it puts a target on your back. It makes people dislike you because they don't have the courage to speak up. But from an OG to you, I'm telling you to keep doing what you're doing and don't be afraid to be expressive. And I think it would be a disservice for people not to research you and find out who you are and to consider voting for you. And I am not saying that because we are on CAG together. CAG has given me an opportunity to learn you better and to see what you're about. But I appreciate what you do, and I think it takes courage what you do, and I believe in giving people their flowers
Mhm.
while we can give it to them. And you're a
Mhm.
youthful black brother, and I fought years and years of people kicking me in the head just because of my age, instead of looking at my knowledge and my wherewithal, my research on the subject that I was speaking on. So you keep doing what you're doing, brother.
That's
Yeah.
Well,
right.
thank you for
Stay
that.
He
focused.
puts his money where his mouth is.
And his time and his
Mhm.
Yeah, it's
talent.
time that we say goodbye to
It's
No,
everybody.
no,
So
wait. I got one
time.
more thing. I have one
I
more
was just about to
thing to
ask
Oh,
say.
she
Talia if she
said
had
it.
one more
She said
thing,
it.
but
She said it, not me.
I got one more thing to say. So, we're always talking
Mm.
about community getting engaged and being advocates and all the things, right? And Saturday, I went out to support Sherman at the Marlboro Meadows Civic Association Community Day. And I used to live in the townhomes, Meadowbrook. And that civic association has seen some hard times, some ups and downs. But when I tell you all that it was one of the best forums that I have seen. And I'm talking in all the years that I've been doing this political
Mm.
stuff. So I want to shout out Ms. Regina Beckles, um and she had her questions were so good that I asked her for a copy of the questions. I've never done that before, and a lot of times I'll write down the questions, but I've gotten past that. I'm not doing all that work no more, and I'm not coaching people as tightly as I used to. But I just wanted to give her a shout out. So anybody in Marlboro Meadows, if you know Miss Regina, I need to send her the CAG Chat link on YouTube so she can watch us, because she said she didn't know about CAG. And so we want to make sure she finds out about CAG. But it was a good forum. All the candidates were not there. There were four candidates, and each candidate, because of the way she presented the questions, they were able to answer from a very personal vision, from a place that really shared their reasons for running and their experience and what they want to bring to the council and the county government. And so we celebrate y'all people who are out here in the trenches doing the work, the HOA presidents and board members, the civic association leaders, the community leaders. We are excited about all of the advocacy groups that are popping up on social media. Shout out to Charles County Citizens for Accountability and Governance. We saw y'all starting up. Just everybody is doing your part, and so let's keep on pressing, y'all, because we need some improvement. I don't like the word change. We need improvement. That way we know we going
Mhm.
up.
well, I always tell people, since I'm gonna close it out, no more one more things, Tanya. This is it.
I
That's what
ain't
I'm
say
about to say.
nothing.
But Barbara Jordan will ask, change from what to what? And that is the question Prince George's County needs to answer on June 23rd. What are we changing from and to? But it was certainly a pleasure having all of the candidates on tonight. That was a
Yes.
very robust discussion. I am appreciative for them being able to share their time with us. It can get busy during the season. I know from my own personal reference point. Hope that you have learned something tonight and that you will be able to share this message along with anyone else that you come into contact with. Again, we are CAG Chat. We're signing off for today and take